Would you like to hear about my secret weapon in financial planning? I do something called Cashflow forecast planning with my clients, so they can start to understand what they already have and take control for the future, so they can actually have the future that they want. Watch next. So what we have here is a demo couple, and I'll just show you how we set it up. So we've got two people aged 36, 37, they're married. They both have income, one's self-employed, one's salaried. They've got a property currently worth 500,000. They've got pensions. So they've both got 50,000 of old pensions hanging around, and they've both just started new pensions through either workplace or self-employed. Currently has £100 in, but they're both contributing to those pensions. I've also included state pension. If they were to get full state pension and it was starting this year, this is what it would be worth. They have got a mortgage worth 350,000 at the moment. And in terms of expenses, they are spending on household bills, not including the mortgage, £1,000, and they're spending £500 a month on things like food and diesel. Setup, I've both assumed for both of them on a base plan that they're both going to retire at 68, which is state pension age. I've put this in as our working life, then living the dream, which may be where they spend a little bit more money when they first retire, and then later life, which we're going to start when Mrs. becomes 78. And we've got, unfortunately here, gravestones for both of them. We're working to a life age 100, so we remove any emotion from those sorts of plans. What we do is press Let's See to see what this might look like based on their plans of retiring at 68. So let's have a look at that. At this stage, you can see that they've got employment coming in, the 40,000. They are spending 56,000. They've got 23,000 of surplus income that they're currently not using, and I bet it doesn't feel like that. And you can see over time, all of this blue is showing all of their income coming from employment. And then once we get to Mr. becoming 68, state pension kicks in at that point. And by the time Mrs. hits 68, you can see that their expenditure is actually pretty much all covered by state pension. But that is assuming the bare minimum of spend, which many of us possibly don't want to see. So the next thing we're going to do is a couple of what ifs. What about if they want to retire at 65? What might that look like? So let's have a look at what the system says. So in terms of retiring at 65, put some details on, you can see that actually this time we have some orange coming in. So if they were to retire at 65, they would be using some of their pensions that they've saved up over a period of time. But you can also see on this chart there's absolutely no red. So in later life they are able to continue to live as they are. What if they want to retire at 60? So this time let's change it. So we're again making it so that they can retire earlier. And again, what we have here is we are using a lot more of those pensions they've saved. So for example, from age 60 onwards, they are going to need to dip into their pensions more than 40,000 each year to continue with their normal lifestyle. So that is going to have an effect on their pensions. If we have a look at what their pensions potentially could be worth at the time when they get to 60, you can see if we look at end of year balance here, how that is growing. They are both contributing to their pensions, and I've put a growth in at 4% after charges. So you can see over time, those pensions are increasing in value. Just before they retire, we have some values here, but then they're going to need to deplete them. So one of them's already gone. So we are depleting our pensions, which means potentially in later life, when we do need to draw on them for things like care costs, we might not have enough there. So retiring at 65 we said was possible, but what if we want to retire at 65 but actually spend some more money? So for example, we might want to spend £1,000 more on having fun in retirement. So let's see what that looks like. So with this one, you can see there's a lot more orange. So we're obviously going to be needing a lot more money in that time to be able to do the things that we want to do. And you can see that that then stops at 75. So the first 10 years of retirement, there's a lot more spend. And this will have an effect on the pensions. So you can see just before retirement, those pots are looking pretty healthy, but then we're going to need to draw down on them quite heavily. You can see the withdrawals on the far side here. We're going to need to pull down on them quite heavily to be able to maintain that lifestyle. But there is no shortfall in this particular case, so it is doable and possible to be able to do that based on this information that we've got. This time, let's assume that they're still retiring at 65 and spending more in retirement, but this time Mr. doesn't have a pension, Mrs. does and how that affects things. So immediately you can see there's some red here, so there's some shortfall. So they wanted to retire at 65, a bit earlier than state pension, and they wanted to spend more in retirement, but because he didn't have a pension and she did, unfortunately they've run out of money. So at this point they would be struggling. What if actually neither of them have a pension and Mrs. has only just started putting into a pension? Again, you can see red. So unfortunately in this case, they've retired at 65, first 2 years not too bad, then they've run out of money entirely, and now they are only going to be relying on state pension. And this is the sort of case where actually you do need that financial advice, which may have said to you back here when you were in your 30s that if your plan is to retire at 65, then both of you do need to be paying into the pension in order to get the retirement that you want, where you can spend a bit more money than just your general spend. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea of what my cash flow forecast software looks like. It is based on assumptions. We can't ever guarantee investment performance. Things could change in terms of your circumstances, tax rules, expenses could go up, your income could go down or up, but it just gives you an idea of the future you're working towards. And that is why ongoing advice is so important with your advisor, so you can keep checking your plan and make sure that you are working towards the future that you really want.